want to make sure, I didn't want to say that. So, all right, very good. Thank you. I gotta get my chair positioned here. So, all right. I'm gonna try to. I keep waiting for George to hit the gavel because I swear my left ear still has a ringing in it. So, but. Okay, I have 4 o'clock. Let's call the Isabella County Board of Commissioners work session to order. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
to the republic,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Clerk Lux, a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hutchinson? Commissioner Engler?
Here, and I'm participating remotely from my home in Deerfield Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Hutchinson, can we do it again?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry. Reporting from my home in Ottawa Township, Isabella County.
And Commissioner Jazinski?
President, participating from my home in Chippewa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Hope? Commissioner Marino?
Here, remotely participating from my home in Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
Commissioner Swaney?
Here, attending remotely from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
And Commissioner Horton?
Here, attending from my home in Union Township, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
All present, Mr. Chairman, except for Commissioner Hope.
Okay, let's go move on to approval of the agenda. Under general public comments, presentations and special reports, we have none. Appointments to boards and commissions, we have none. Committee reports, first up, Finance and Administration Committee.
Finance Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next up, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chair.
We have nothing under Intergovernmental Affairs, and Commissioner Hope is not here, so we'll move on to Administrator Controller Report, where there is nothing. Nothing under unfinished business or new business, general public comments, announcement, and adjournment. So can I get an approval? Can I get a motion for an approval of agenda, please?
So moved, Swaney.
Support Marino.
We have a motion and a support for the approval of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We have an agenda. Next up, general public comments. I'd like to remind before we get going on this that general public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And at that time, I will make an announcement of the time frame, and then we'd ask if you can discontinue your speaking again. Nicole, do we have anybody on the line that would like to speak?
We do have a caller into the meeting tonight, Mr. Chairman. It is an unidentified caller at this point. They do not have their hand raised, so this is the time. They would press *9 on their keypad if they wish to speak.
Okay, caller, if you want to speak, please press *9 so we can get you on our agenda to speak.
They have raised their hand, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's let them in then.
Okay, and I'm asking them to unmute.
And also too, before we, yep, and I'm so sorry, if you could also state your name and name and address, is it, or name and telephone number? Name and address?
Address.
Name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Kristen Sheridan. I live at 1191 River Oak Drive, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Chippewa Township.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm speaking to the commission today as a volunteer for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Moms is a grassroots movement that advocates for public safety measures to reduce gun violence and create a culture of gun safety. Moms is bipartisan and supports the Second Amendment. I and my fellow volunteers are here today to tell you about an educational program available for moms called Be Smart. You all have received a packet of information about this program. I want to tell you more about why it is important. The Be Smart program is designed to promote responsible gun ownership and reduce child firearms deaths that occur because guns are not stored securely. Every year, nearly 350 children living in America under the age of 18 gain access to a firearm and unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else. 90% of such shootings of children under 15 occur in the home. In addition, more than 600 children living in America die by gun suicide every year, and secure gun storage can play a crucial role in preventing these deaths. Suicide is a complex topic to which there is no one answer. However, means matter. Amongst commonly used methods of self-harm, firearms are by far the most lethal. 90% of suicide attempts with a gun result in death. Across all suicide attempts not involving a firearm, 4% result in death. And one more fact, more than 80% of child gun suicides involve a gun belonging to a family member. Our committee promotes the Be Smart message by providing a 20-minute educational presentation on the program to community groups and medical providers. We also provide Be Smart information at public events such as farmers markets, fairs, and the like. And when we have them available, we distribute free gun locks. This program teaches parents and others how and why to take these simple steps. Secure all guns in homes and vehicles, model responsible behavior, ask about firearms in homes your child visits, recognize the role of guns in suicide, and tell others to be smart. You, as members of the County Commission, are influencers in our community. Your awareness of and support for this program will help us to disseminate the Be Smart message in the community. I appreciate your time and your interest in this program.
Well, thank you very much. And that was exactly 3 minutes. You timed that right to the second. So that was, thank you so much. Nicole, do we have anybody else that has their hand up?
We do have another caller, Mr. Chairman. At this time, again, they do not have their hand raised currently, so they would want to press *9 on their keypad if they wish to raise their hand to speak. I still do not see their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if there's no one else, let's close the public comment of this, and we'll move on. Presentation and special reports, we have none. Appointments to boards and commissions, we have none. Committee reports, first up, Finance and Administration Committee. Commissioner Jelezinski, you're muted.
Thank you for reminding me. First item of business is consider accepting and placing on file the January 21st, 2021 routine personal items as presented. There are 3 entries on the personal items list, and one was a resignation. Apparently the individual moved on to other employment, and the other 2 step increases. So nothing out of the ordinary. Are there any questions? We'll move this forward then. Oh wait, we need to take a motion to move it forward then. Is that correct? No.
No.
Okay, we'll move it forward then to our regular meeting. Next item is consider ratifying and placing on file the revised January 15th, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $325,802.84. The January 22nd, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $1,356,831.18. In the adjustment list dated January 28th, 2021. We looked at this in committee, and as we go through this, I think people having looked at their own list see that these are customary expenses that we've paid There's really no surprises. We have Clark Construction Integrated Software. They have their charges for work on the jail. Manor Costerian has their November financial services charge. Edward Sparrow Hospital, we're paying our monthly medical examiner contract charge. Boulder Associates is a payment for landfill groundwater monitoring and reporting, and that's through the drains. And Paul Lampum and Associates is the Wise Township balance of remonumentation costs. And Procon has a charge for equipment of new police interceptor for the Sheriff's Department. And the Chippewa District Library is the first quarter penal fines distribution from the Treasurer's Office. Highfields Incorporated is a December private agency youth service provider taking care of some children that were assigned by the courts. Any questions on the list for January 15th? Moving on then to the list for January 22nd. We have a significant amount of funds, but the vast majority of these funds are pass-through dollars, that money we collect and then send on to the rightful recipients, such as we have a number from the intermediate school districts, the Midland ESA, Montcalm Community College, and Midland Mid-Michigan Community College. It's a second winter tax disbursement for those educational institutions. Community mental health, we have our second quarter appropriation for that agency. Middle Michigan Development Corporation is also a second quarter appropriation. Preston Community Services is the monthly equalization contract. And again, we have integrated architecture. It's a charge for jail architectural services. Redmond Robinson, first progress billing for fiscal year 2000 audit that's currently underway. And HATS, the biweekly contract payment. And OnSolve, which is the payment for annual Code Red contract, which my understanding this would be the last before we make change of a vendor for that. Manpower is at the material recovery facility. That's weekly contracted labor to keep up with peak demand periods. We have, and then we already went through the balance of the list. The only thing I brought up in the invoice report that's down in the body of that follows from that first page, I had a question dealing with the Clare County Treasurer, $180.25 for animal control services. And I understand that through a cooperative agreement with this county, they provided services for our animal control. I don't know if that's because of a medical issue or if it's just service to the northern portion of the county. Margaret, I can't remember exactly what you said on that issue, but I know it's a cooperative venture that you've arranged.
Right. Yes, sir, it is. It's for a particular situation at animal control, not having to do with animals. It's a personnel issue and they're helping us out. So they're doing a great job for us. And we're not, we're only relying on them for, certain situations that aren't able to be dealt with while somebody is out on sick leave.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right, we'll move the January 22nd list then on to tonight's meeting. I remember looking at the adjustments list, but it looks like a paper copy. I don't see it here. Frank?
Yeah. Just real quick before you move on that, I noticed that the last one and this last one, the COVID expenses were down quite a bit. Are you seeing a little reduction in that, or do you see that just an outlier, or are we going to come in some more expenses, or are we getting some relief there? Can you kind of go into that just real quick, Margaret, if you would, please?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. Some of those COVID expenses kind of ebb and tide ebb and flow, ebb and time, that'd be a different thing. Ebb and flow based on what we need to purchase as far as PPE equipment and other things. I would just say that we are thankfully at this point from the snapshot that this took, had fewer expenses, but they could certainly go up in the next round. We're continuing obviously to meet all the requirements of NIOSHA and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and LARA. So it kind of ebbs and flows. So I wouldn't look at this and go, oh, okay, we're not going to have other more expensive things coming down the road. I will say that some of the things that we have purchased as far as, disinfectant, and again, I'm not the expert in this area, so pardon my just plain kind of speak about it. The disinfectant lights and those sorts of things that we have purchased that we can use both in our jail facility and in vehicles and in other areas of the workplace. We have those are here. We're not going to be buying those again, obviously, but we're trying to keep our inventory for the PPE high enough so that if there's a shortage again, we're not going to be caught in that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Absolutely.
Adjustment list dated January 28th. I went through my paperwork again. I remember looking at it, but I didn't put it in my copies here. And I'm not going to be able to find it electronically quickly, but I remember there were quite a few. Again, Gordon Food Service, either the Sheriff's Department or Commission on Aging discounts for early payment of the bill. And I don't remember seeing anything on there that rose to any questions that I personally had and that the committee had. Does somebody have that copy there?
Yeah, I have it in front of me, Commissioner Jelezinski, and outside of Gordon Food Service, we have Gilroy's Hardware, just an invoice to increase a little bit for entry error from the drains. Again, something for materials recovery, invoice was added, entered in error. Thomas Reuters West out of the Public Defender's Office, invoice was voided and entered in error. And then another one's the next for the January 22nd, Gordon Food Service, Sarvit Chaudhary had a little bit adjusting with his calculations as far as I believe he gets attendance for some committees. And then Summit Company's invoice was voided due to being a duplicate. So pretty standard fare.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions on that list? They'll move forward then to tonight's meeting. The third item, consider approving the agreement for inmate healthcare services between Isabella County and WellPath LLC effective October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have Sheriff Main and Lieutenant Dush on present. So would you like to speak to this? I know this is something we've already approved in a prior meeting, but I think this is the final contract. And
yes, Commissioner, that's correct. Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, I guess it is. So this is our 3-year contract we have. WellPath was it's a name change from previous contract we had, but it's the same company. They went through an RFP process. It was selected. The commissioners did approve that. Then we went back and drilled down on the hours, if you remember correctly, of the nursing staff and so forth. We got that down to where we thought that was appropriate for us and adjusted the price a little bit. It is a large contract, but it is an important contract with us. They spend, they're there 7 days a week. The nurses are, the doctors come in. There's some psychological and mental health type counseling services that come along with that. We did bounce this back and forth from the attorneys and got all those bugs worked out. So this is a good contract. They have signed off on it, and this is our due diligence to review it, look at it, and hopefully the board will approve it and sign on it tonight. I can go into the details. I've talked several times about this company. They're more like employees to us. They take care of us. They give us flu shots. They do a lot for us. They have been instrumental in the COVID process with us. They are a very important team player with that process, and they've helped us through a lot of those issues and the testing with the inmates and the MDOC standards and so forth. So we've been extremely happy with their services. And there is a Lieutenant Dush, remind me, was it up to 3% or 4%? I was off, I think, last time on that. You remember what the CPI was on that? think it was 3 or 4% every year, can go up a little bit. So.
Right, and that's based on the consumer's price index, and that's every year it can be increased up to 4%.
Okay, I did look at the Exhibit A of the report and looked at the calendar, and it looks like we have a pretty good coverage throughout the week, but there's somebody there to provide some assistance during a good portion of the day. And one thing I thought when I looked at that, having been involved with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee of the MMRMA, I was aware that there's a lot of lawsuits resulting from inmates in public custody due to suicide or to injury. And I think it shows that we're doing due diligence to have a good medical services and help us protect the county against some kind of liability lawsuit in the future. Other comments?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, this is best practice. This is standard practice of all the jails throughout the county, or I'm sorry, the state. The only other, sometimes some of the bigger ones might have their own doctor or their own nurses that they've employed outside of a contract, but this is pretty much a standard just for those reasons. And I mentioned it during the work session or the finance work session that you know, we had an inmate at that time had come in and the nurse evaluated him and said no. There's some issues here, and we'd sent them home on a tether. And lo and behold, that person ended up in the hospital for a week that very night. So those are the things that are pretty beneficial to us. We would have been dealing with that person and had those issues in the jail.
Other questions, comments?
Real quick, Commissioner Jazinski.
Commissioner Horton?
Yeah, Sheriff Maney, Lieutenant Dush. I think we mentioned this in the, I can't remember if I brought it up or not, or mentioned it. In regards to, as we go forward, building the new jail and putting the new jail in, has this organization been involved as far as planning goes, or giving you any suggestions? And two, what have you seen as the impact? Are you seeing more telemedicine introduced? And is that obviously that's going to be, I think, the wave of the future anyway. So is that probably can actually probably cut down on some of our on-time visits too, and get us kind of more for the contract or whatever. What's your thoughts on telemedicine and those type of things? What are you doing as far as implementing that?
So the first part of your question in regards to the new construction, they have been certainly involved in not only the medical wing, as we call it, but they've also been involved in some of the locations and so forth of where we would put medical equipment in the pod and whatever. You know, we've really worked hard at designing some see-through, pass-through single-man cells that will allow the nurses to monitor people better. We have there's lots of things that are better with the new facility coming up, that's for sure. But this will certainly help us in that endeavor. And we have seen a huge increase in telehealth, both medical and mental health wise. And I think that's going to be the way of the future. We've added multiple places within the new facility to help offset that places to do that quietly and respectfully, and you know the doctor confidentiality requirements and so forth. Lieutenant Dush, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that WellPath, I think, was ahead of the curve when it came to telehealth and telepsychiatry. That was actually added into our contract 3 years ago. They added a telepsychiatry component, and that, I think, made them very comfortable with this transition that COVID has brought us. You know, we've been doing telepsychiatry with inmates for over 3 years now. But now with the COVID issues and the importance of keeping people in one place and not taking people outside of the building, it's just made everybody a lot more comfortable. Our nursing staff can get on and do a telehealth session with an inmate's family doctor. A lot of times they can manage a follow-up appointment maybe that was scheduled before they were incarcerated. And instead of us having to drive them outside of the facility into another city or area for their follow-up appointment, now our nursing staff is able to bring the inmate into her office, get them on a telehealth session, and kind of manage that follow-up appointment that way. So not only does it help us with safety and security issues and manpower issues of not having to drive somebody, to another city for, an orthopedic surgeon follow-up appointment, or, something simple that the nurse can manage, or our physician. They stay right in the building. So not only are safety and security issues limited, it also helps out with, limiting COVID exposure. So I just like to say that WellPath is well on top of and has been doing great at the telehealth stuff. And I agree, it's the future. And the more that we can do in that regard, the better for us in a number of ways.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, we'll move this on to tonight's meeting then. The final item for the committee is consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 21-02-01, Notice of Intent Bond Resolution, declaring official intent to issue limited tax general obligation bonds for the Isabella County Sheriff's Office and Correctional Facility Construction Project in the amount not to exceed $41,500,000. I'm really torn by this. I know I went in the committee with the intent of voting against this in committee. However, I knew that Commissioner Hope couldn't be present because of some medical issues. So I did call him and ask him how he stood on it. And he said he supported moving this forward. And so rather than being an obstruction to the committee, because with only 2 people present, 1 voting against, the item would have gone down. So at committee, I did vote for this, and I certainly want to vote for it, moving it forward, but I have some real serious concerns. As I look at the photographs of commissioners, we know that there is a plan that was provided, and it's described as an elaborate and responsible plan for repayment of the principal and interest that was provided. Well, also, as commissioners, we know that the revenues that are going into this plan, the wind farm revenues, the fund balance, delinquent tax funds eventually, those are things that we've depended on to balance our budget. We may have a budget that's 18 million with revenues and 21 or 22 million in expenditures, and we've needed those funds to balance the operational budget. Now, and I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years ago, but we did have a goal setting session that I thought was very productive. And one of the goals that came out of that session was to develop some kind of a forecasting tool for the budget. And here we are now down the road 3 or 4 years. We don't have that tool. I keep getting up on my soapbox every once in a while and saying that this is something we need. My concern is that as we divert revenues to this new source, and I'll tell you, I support this jail. We need it, but can we afford it? We need to know, I need to be comfortable knowing that the operational budget, the impacts that we're going to have on that operational budget is not going to be severe. If we divert those revenues, are we not going to have pay increases for employees in the future? Are healthcare costs to employees going to go up? Are we going to look at cutting back on services? I don't know if any one of the commissioners sitting in their home can answer that question. If you think you can honestly answer that question, I'd like to hear. I have not seen anything, and I don't intend to vote on this any further until I know comfortably that we can pay for it, but also that we can maintain a budget that is sustainable over time. And that's one of our primary responsibilities as county board commissioners, is the fiscal health of this county. With that said, I'll get off my soapbox and open the floor to other people to speak on this issue. Margaret?
May I present the staff report?
Yes.
So the staff report, thank you, sir. The staff report you have in front of you is the staff report that would take us to the first step of applying for the USDA grant to allow us to sell bonds through the USDA. My understanding is that's the selection made by the Board of Commissioners to move forward. in agreements having to do with the purchase agreement for the facility. So, and just to clarify something, we haven't the expected wind turbine revenue that is worked into the long-term projection by our CPA is not the same revenue from the wind turbines in the current southern part of the county that are worked into the operational budget. These are the turbines in the northern part of the county. So as we move forward here, I just want to say that I do think that we do have a good plan on how to move forward and pay for this facility. As the commissioner has said, that the facility is much needed. So this is the next process moving forward. Doesn't commit us to anything except to move forward, to get the publication that needs to be in the paper, to have us have in place what we need to in the future to sell the bonds for the financing of the project. As we all know, and as we're all aware, and as Commissioner Jelezinski said, we all know that we need a jail. We have had a report put forward on how we're going to pay for that. What I'd like to talk about today certainly is the motion in front of you, the resolution in front of you. This has to happen for us to move forward and put us in a position of meeting the requirements of the USDA grant. At the end of this, you know, if after the 45 days referendum or at some point before we're going to sell bonds, does not commit you in the end. At this point, this is just getting us to the next step in the process. So I strongly recommend that the Board of Commissioners authorize this resolution today. We do have our bond counsel on with us, Mr. McLaughlin, who is here. And he has been working with us on this. Didn't listen to my mom and go to law school, so I'm glad we have a great attorney on our side. We also have a very competent financial expert who has working with us, Tom Treziak, which I believe you have all had the opportunity to meet. You may have remembered him from another presentation a few years ago by another public entity that was thinking of borrowing funds from the USDA for a project. They chose to go in another direction for their funding, which is fine. But those of you who were a commissioner a few years ago remember this process. I'm sure it looks somewhat familiar to you. So I think the resolution is pretty straightforward. Again, we have our attorney on board. If anybody has a question regarding the resolution or regarding what you're committing to, I would feel very comfortable having Eric answer these questions. But I can assure you that I feel very comfortable recommending that the Board of Commissioners adopt this resolution. This is the next step in the process.
Jim, please go ahead. Jim Marino, Commissioner, please.
I certainly support going forward at this time with this process. It's a logical step. I don't have the same concerns that the Commissioner Jelezinski has.
We have one of our experts here, McLaughlin. Is there anything you want to say on this proposal?
Nothing in particular. The staff report that I reviewed was very thorough and accurately explains the resolution. As Margaret said, it's a procedural step, and it must occur in order to start the 45-day referendum period running. After which, if that expires without the filing of a petition for referendum, then the county would have the authority to proceed to issue bonds if it so chose to do so. It doesn't, as she said, it does not commit you to actually issuing any bonds if for any reason the project goes sideways, but it does provide you the authority to do so once you get to that point of project development.
Commissioner Horton, please.
Thank you. Real quick, in committee, I asked Mr. McLaughlin a question in regards to the resolution itself. While it's general and vague as to the language, talks about where the jail is going to be located inside the Charter Township of Union. Just to give a little background with that, we had several meetings. We had a jail ad hoc committee. We tried to site the building. We tried to get some property around in the area. We had certain sizes and land properties and everything. We believe we've chosen a site that fits those requirements, and it is actually right now inside of Union Township. Obviously, with a jail, you need certain requirements. You need utilities. You need infrastructure, you need, whatever, you need access to public roads, clean roads, paved roads, everything like that. So I think Union Township is foreseeable site for the jail, certainly. So that's one of the questions I asked. Do we have to be that specific? I think, again, that's not really too specific because you're not actually putting down an address, which is good. And as far as Commissioner Jelazinski's feelings, I was one of the ones, and I always believe in setting like a pro forma or a business plan or whatever for a business. And going forward with the county, I do think we need to have a general understanding, which we do with budget setting and budget goals and plans. But in specific to this project, we had presented several meetings ago. I'm getting some feedback here, but it might be me. As you can see, I've been technically challenged during this meeting. I mean, you went to my cell phone a little bit here, but we had a nice spreadsheet presentation which we worked on and looked at and tried to figure out some funding for this $41.5 million project that we have to get going, and we have to get this moving forward. Every delay that we have can cost tens of thousands of dollars in higher loan, higher interest. So this needs to be done, especially when you're looking at taking something out for 40 years. I do echo Commissioner Jelazinski's statement that we are all trustees on this board, and we're all here to watch the funding of the county and make sure we don't go into debt, make sure we spend our taxpayer money wisely. And I don't think any one of us wants to spend it foolishly or make mistakes in doing that. But to delay this, I think at this time would be not a good decision. We have already, if you looked at the spreadsheet, we're already addressing probably some of the larger issues already. One of the big issues as our county, and it's the jail. That is the dominant factor in our budget for the next 40 years. Another factor we talked with our spreadsheet and turbine money is going with the retirement, paying off that debt. That is probably one of the other larger debts. I think it's, don't quote me on this, I'm in front of me, I believe it's around $16 million unfunded or somewhere in that neighborhood. We are planning to pay that off. We also, I don't know if Margaret might kick me if she was available to stretch her leg from her table to where I'm at right now. And she's done that, by the way, let me know, in the short time for the last month. So I applaud her for that. But, look, we've got a student coming on board at CMU that's going to help look at some other things, look at the MRF to see if we can improve some of that. There are other ways too that we can look at as far as saving some revenue and as we go forward. So we are looking at that. Have we put something in codification and it serves as a guideline? No, we haven't, so to say, but we are working, and some of our big ticket items I think are being addressed. And again, I think that as we go forward, I think that's probably going to be one of my charges to the Finance and Administration Committee, is to look at some issues. You talked about wages and compensation. We just did a wage and job classification study that added $900-something thousand to our payroll, which will continue on to infinity. So we've got that coming forward and to manage and to look at. But I challenge anyone too to see if they could predict what happened the last year with COVID. If anybody could have predicted that on a guideline, I would have liked to seen it, because I didn't see it coming and I don't think anybody else did. And what impact that has in our county in the next few years is an unknown.
Commissioner Horton's frozen for a second here. Well, we'll probably get him back shortly. Anybody else have comments? Commissioner Engler?
Yeah, just a real quick comment on this. I understand that this is just a process moving forward. Yeah, I'm concerned about the budget and the impact for the next 40 years on this, but right now the interest rates are probably.
I stated though in our finance.
Oh,
my back on.
We're dueling.
You were, now you're not.
Oh, we just lost him.
Nope, lost him completely. Yeah, that's what happens when he gets it. Anyway,
Back.
I think probably, yeah, we need to go forward with the process. I don't think the interest rates are going to get any lower. I don't want to, hopefully we don't have to do a bond issue. I know we've talked about it and there's other options besides the USDA, but I do think we need to get the process started in case we have to do that so we can lock in something. Commissioner Horton's exactly right, where the longer a project goes on, the more expensive it gets. So even though I understand that this is not a commitment yet, it's just a process, we need to get that started. So.
Mr. Horton, you were talking. Are you able to, looks like you're froze again.
That is one of the greatest, that is one of the biggest fears when you're talking on Zoom. You just keep rattling on and realize maybe I'm not even coming across. So again, I switched to my phone here, so that's the second time I've had to do this, and I think that's why I'm going to continue on, because I have, it's a long story and I'm not going to share it, but I have actually 2 high-speed internets coming into my house, and apparently neither one of them is working very well today. So we're going to continue on. But no, I just do think moving this forward, I think the county does have to look at obviously its finances and make sure this is a large undertaking. It's going to be around long after I'm gone as a commissioner. But this is the way to go. And this is, I think, approving this loan for this large dollar amount. And then I think the next phase is how we're going to pay for it. How we're going to plan for funding, Jerry. And I think that's where we're really going to start looking at getting more and more involved in long-term plans. But yeah, that's, like I said, we're addressing some big issues even with the spreadsheet from the turbines. So if you ask the question, how we're going to pay for this, can I tell you every exact expense we're going to have between 3 and 5 years, or even some of the larger ones? I think I had mentioned when I talked to you, and I think I mentioned in the finance administration. In the world that I come from, we focus a lot of times 25% of our product is 85 to 90% of our spend. And it's kind of mirrors with the county. If you look at those items I mentioned, wages, jail, retirement, other items, those take up, I don't know the percentage of our budget, but those are large ticket items that I think we're addressing extremely well. So again, I'm not concerned. Am I concerned with this? Yeah, I'm concerned with the funding. I'm concerned with the source. I mean, we're putting a lot of our emphasis on the wind turbines. They are up, they are turning, and I think I can see a couple out of my window right now. I'm sure Commissioner Engler, Commissioner Hutchinson can see more, but that is where we're going as a county, and we're in this together. And I do echo Jerry. I hear you completely, 110%. And so I don't think any of our commissioners are ignoring you. I don't think the county administrator and controller is ignoring you, but we have to move this forward. So I hear you, I echo you what you say, but I just don't agree as far as not voting for this to move forward. So that's my opinion anyways. So.
Any other comments? I guess I have one question. This is not the final. We'll be eventually have to vote on the actual bonding. Can we expect, Margaret, from administration, some type of budget forecast? It doesn't have to be an exact tool, but a 3-year look into the future. At the Michigan Association of Counties, Northern Michigan Counties Association, yesterday I found out that a number of counties, none of them go 5 years, except for capital improvement plans. A couple of counties had 5-year plans, but a number of them do have 3-year forecasts. And that's what we're looking for. It's a 3-year forecast to know that once these revenues are taken out of the budget, where is the operational budget going to stand? What challenges are we going to look at? What are the impacts? I need to have that information to vote when that time comes. I'm willing to vote to move this forward, but when it comes to that last vote, I'm going to be a no vote unless I can see that we can afford it, that we have all our bases covered. It's why the people in my district elected me to be a steward of their tax monies, and I will be that. If there's no other comments or consideration, we'll move this to tonight's meeting. Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelezinski. Next up, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have one item. Consider approving the Fodor Farm LLC farmland agreement application and instruct Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program pending completion of the application. Pretty standard form. We've all seen this before, except for Commissioner Hutchison, and whoever wants any information on these, you can always give me a call. We can talk a little bit about them, but very simple. 10-year contract, 10-acre contract, 9 tillable, 54 years. Basically what we do, Commissioner Hutchinson, is usually we make sure all the forms filled out, and we've always approved them. I don't think we've ever not approved one. We had one little hiccup in the committee. We got there and there's 5 pages, and page 3, there was a little inch spot on there that didn't have, was blank for the years. And I have to commend my committee that they all caught it. So I brought it up. So it was moved forward out of committee with that instruction that be filled in, which it has been. So I guess if there's any questions, I'll take them. Seeing none, we'll move this forward.
Frank?
Yes.
Frank, can you, I don't know if you can see, I can only see like 4 people right now.
Okay.
Just real quick, Frank, in our committee meeting, I think, and this might be for Commissioner Hutchinson more, he probably understands this. You gave and Steve, you could probably echo this too. I think, Frank, you gave a really good short synopsis, cliff note version of what PA 116 is, putting everything into the farmland agreement. Would you mind quickly going over that, just touching base, spending like just a couple of minutes? I thought your explanation and real life, real world explanation was very good. If you wouldn't mind doing that, please.
I sure can. Basically, PA 116 is called the Farmland Preservation Act. It was created to help preserve farmland, and what it does is it is a relief for property tax on agriculture, basically farmers. There's a formula that is depending on your income. So on your good years, you will not get as big a tax relief. On years that you're losing money, it's a little bigger tax relief. It really helps the older, some of the retired farmers that are not farming anymore, but rent their properties out and they're on limited income. So it's a very good program to basically to keep agriculture. So.
Hey, Frank,
Yes, Terry.
is there any restriction on what they can do with that farmland?
There is a restriction that there's some exemptions, like they can, if they're going to build on the property, they can take 1 acre out to build a house. Okay. They can split it off if there was a building on the site at the time you signed into it, and you can sign up to 90 years. So, so a lot of times some of the buildings are gone. You can request, and we've had a couple of them throughout the years to get out of the 116 contract. There are some exemptions for death, and some the contract can be transferable. If one person sells the land to another person and wants to keep it in farming, they can just transfer that contract. That's a pretty simple process. The state has to agree to let you out of the contract, and if there is, you get out of the contract early. Typically, I think you have to pay back like 7 years of tax gain that you got on those contracts. So the state does not have to let you out. So I think we've had 1 or 2 since I've been on the board asking for 116 release. So does that take care of any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve, for doing that. I mean, Frank, for doing that.
There's no more questions. We'll move this forward to tonight's general meeting, and that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Next up, Human Resources and Public Works Committee. Chairman Commissioner Moreno.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving the grant agreement between the Conservation Fund as administrator of the Saginaw Bay Watershed Initiative Network and Isabella County Parks and Recreation in the amount of $14,000 for the Deerfield Nature Park Chippewa River Restoration Project, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Is Sue Ann Coffenmeyer, the Director of Parks and Recs on tonight? I saw her before. I
Yes,
don't see. Okay, could you explain this, please,
here.
Ms. Director?
Hi, good evening. At our December meeting, the December 15th meeting, I brought to the Board of County Commissioners preliminary grant request for this project. The project at Deerfield is a $51,000 project, and we were asking from the Saginaw Bay Watershed Initiative $14,000 as part of that $51,000. As stated in my report, we've also received money from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe for $25,000, and the Mount Pleasant Area Community Visitors Bureau for $12,000. And so with that preliminary grant request, to our surprise, again, as I mentioned in committee, they approved us. So that was very good news, and we didn't even have to propose anything to them. I think I know Mike Kelly, the director there, was very excited about this project. So it's good news here at the Board of County Commissioners for this project. If you guys agree to accept the agreement, and we can then move ahead for this project if signed.
Commissioner Hutchinson.
Yeah, this project is basically for the erosion issue that they have out on in the park and on the river. And it's to take care of the erosion problem. And we do thank the grant, and it's a good deal. To move forward.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I have a question on just the graphic. Let me find it here. I apologize. On the Meridian Park graphic, there was and this is not on that grant, but there is a bump out area for an easement that goes as you head east on to the east end of the park. Are you able to find that, Sue Ann? It may have been an easement we've already approved.
No, that was the easement. It'll be on in a future meeting. We took it off because of so I'm sorry if there was a piece of the project you're saying was attached to that.
Yes.
No.
So that was withdrawn.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah.
I'll wait till the meeting then.
Okay.
The second item was
I have a couple questions on that map, but we'll wait. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was taken off the agenda during the committee for different reasons, but we'll get back to it later, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were saying it was attached to this report, so I was looking.
No.
Didn't see. Okay.
I knew it was in the committee originally, and I didn't. I know it wasn't on tonight's agenda. So
Agenda. Yeah. Yeah. No, this is the only one we have for tonight. Was this project? So, did anyone have any other questions? Or?
Oh, just real quick, Chairman Moreno on this. If I could, Sue, I'd like to compliment you. I complimented you in our meeting. I do like the way that you put this $51,000. It's a unique way, and it's a good way as we go forward, getting grants and getting other sources of revenue to pay for things. And this was 3 separate sources of non-general fund money, which was nice to see. You did a good job on this, and again, that's admirable. Thank you. And that's all I have on that. So,
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, that concludes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Kaufman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next up, intergovernmental affairs. We have no issues. Under Administrator Controller report, we have nothing. Unfinished business, no business. New business, nothing. And now we have general public comments. Nicole, I can't see anything, so you're going to be my eyes and ears on this one. Do we have anybody on for general public comment?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we do still have 2 unidentified callers into the meeting. So they're on the meeting. They do not have their hand raised, but once again, I would say this is the time they would press *9 on their keypad if they wish to raise their hand to speak.
Okay.
They've been on for a while, Mr. Chairman. I still do not see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, I will close the general public comment and move to announcement.
Oh,
Commissioners, any
Mr.
announcements?
Chairman,
Oh,
my
go ahead, ma'am.
apology. We had a late hand here. One of
All
them
right.
did pop up.
And before we get going on this, just one more quick, we'll be limited into 3 minutes. If the person would please leave their name and address. And Margaret, if you could do me a big favor, please. If you could somehow, I hate to put you on the spot, but if you could do a 3-minute time for me, because I am challenged now using my phone. I think I went from a laptop to a phone. I think that shows about as much technical savvy as I have, and to try to use that.
I'm all set. I'm all set,
thank
sir.
you. All right, very good. Nicole, let's bring them on.
Okay, caller, you are still muted and you will have to unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your keypad. There they come.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, well, my name is Alan Riggs, and I'm not sure if they already spoke to you from the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America.
They did.
Mr.
They
Riggs,
did.
if you could please, if you could give you gave your name, if you could give your address, please.
Sure. I'm a resident of the city of Mount Pleasant. It's 600 East Gaylord Street. I've lived here for about 26 years.
Thank
And
you.
I was just going to add one other comment on the Be Smart program for protecting children. And my comment is, as you perhaps are aware, in the past couple of weeks, 2 young children in Michigan have been shot and killed because they or another child gained access to an unsecured firearm. This is tragic, but not surprising. Throughout the United States, an estimated 13 million households with children under the age of 18 contain at least one gun, and approximately 4.6 million of these households, at least one gun is stored and is unloaded, is loaded and unlocked. So I'm just adding my comment to that the county supervisors, county commission will support our Be Smart program to help people be careful with guns in the homes that are unlocked and have access available for the kids to pick up. So that's all my comments. I appreciate your time and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Nicole, do we have anybody else?
We do not have any other general public comment at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now at this time, I will close general public comments and move to announcement. Commissioners, any announcements? You're gonna have to wait.
I
can't
have
see
the
anybody.
announcement, Mr. Chair. Marino.
Yeah, we'll go start with Commissioner Moreno. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'd just like to announce that I'm very happy and grateful that I had my COVID-19 vaccination Monday at the Central Michigan District Health Department. I wonder how many other commissioners or people on here have had their vaccination so far. Commissioner Jereminsky, great.
I've actually,
Margaret, right, and Horton.
yeah, I've actually had both shots and I'm 7 days post. So
Cool.
we're,
And I want to encourage everybody out there to get theirs as soon as they can.
Agreed.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
announcement.
oh, yeah, so I'm flipping back and forth here. Sorry about that. All right, Steve, Commissioner Swaney, you're up next.
All right, great. I have an announcement from the Isabella County Human Rights Committee. We have an event that we're hosting February 15th at 6 p.m. It will be, I believe, a Zoom event. You can reach that Zoom link through the Isabella County Human Rights Committee Facebook page. But it's a book discussion, and the book is I'm Still Here by Austin Channing Brown. So again, that's February 15th, 6 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Swaney. Commissioner Jelezinski.
Just another matter from the Northern Michigan Counties Association. I did bring up the fact that we're looking at building a jail outside of our principal city and looking at impacts of having 2 locations since the law requires that the sheriff's office be located in the principal city. And so it's an item that I think they're going to take up for discussion. And we're hoping that maybe even MAC will take a look at it, maybe with the idea of updating the law. I pointed out that, we're located in the city of Mount Pleasant. There's just not land available for this type of facility. When we first built on our current campus, I'm sure that we had neighborhoods that weren't as crowded and development that didn't go as far as we're experiencing today. And there's a lot of municipalities or counties that are faced with that similar problem. And so hopefully this is something we can get some feedback from other counties and maybe have MAC pick it up to see if there can't be some change in the state and neighboring legislation that might give some kind of leeway to move to another location close by.
Very good comment, Commissioner Jalazinski. Anything else from you at all? I'm going to switch over to my next screen here. Commissioner Engler or Commissioner Hutchinson, you have anything?
Yes,
Commissioner Engler.
just real quick, I got some dates I want to give you guys. I'll probably again, but one of them, we secured some funding for another electronic waste pickup. And these are all on Saturday, and that will be May 15th. On June 5th, there will be a tire pickup, and these will be happening at the county fairgrounds. June 12th, we'll have a hazardous waste collection. And then September 11th, we'll have another hazardous waste pickup. So I will try to repeat those a couple times so people keep them in their thoughts anyway. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hutchinson, do you have anything to add?
Do not.
Okay, I'm gonna flip my screen one more time so I actually see myself speak, which is kind of scary actually, but just a couple things. And I'd like to thank those who spoke up today on public comment. It's very awkward and confusing sometimes to do that. And I think a lot of people believe that they still have to come to meetings and drive in person. And I can tell you from last night, I actually got in my vehicle and was headed to the Chippewa Township Board thinking, okay, I got to go and get there. And I started down my driveway and actually headed out of my subdivision and realized, oh, wait a minute, we're on Zoom. So that was an eye-opening thing. So I thank anybody that comes in front of the board and makes public comment. I encourage that. I think it's a good thing to know what's happening in our community. And that's one way as commissioners, we can be enlightened and learn is from public comment. So please, anybody in the public, feel free to come up and express your public comments. That's what we're here for. And we do listen. And again, you're talking about children's death. Any death is tragic. Any unnecessary death is absolutely tragic, especially a small child. I don't have grandchildren. I think 5 of the 7 commissioners do, and I'm looking forward to that one day. And the thought of something like that happening is just tragic. So again, I encourage people to speak up and say things. One of the things that I noticed just sitting here, and I thought about this, and I wanted to bring it up, and you guys, the fellow commissioners, have pretty much said it, but I think we need to, as we go forward in our meetings in the future, I think announcing your committees that you sit on. Commissioners sit on a variety of committees, just not the business and in the work session and the general meeting. There's also meetings that they go and attend throughout the county, and it's good to hear reports. And I'd like to have more of that. I'd like to hear, if you go to a meeting, announce it. Again, I am guilty of that. I've sat through meetings, and I don't think I've probably less than a handful of announcements that I brought forward, even though we attend them and we do participate. I think the community needs to hear that, especially in today's age. So again, and also like to, speaking about committees, I've added a couple and got rid of and took myself off a couple, but added a couple. One of them is the Central Michigan District Health Board. And congratulations to Chairman Moreno. He was nominated vice chairman of that committee. So, and if you look at participation on committees, he is in about 4 subcommittees of that. So he is pretty active, and he deserves that vice chairmanship in that committee. So, and again, as Commissioner Moreno also touched on immunizations and going forward. There's been some issue in the community with supply and demand. Obviously, I think the demand right now is more than the supply. Be patient. If you have a chance to get immunized, get immunized. There's a lot of information out there. Some people don't want to. I mean, there's certain few people that can't because of health reasons. I understand that. But there's also a lot of misinformation. So please be forewarned. Don't read a lot on the internet. If you do, make sure it's from a reputable source. Make sure it's a peer-reviewed source. Again, we're all in this together, and if we can get through this, the next few months is going to be really telling. So again, like I always close everything, wear your mask, safe distance, wash your hands, be respectful of others. I'm glad to see that some of the things reopened as of yesterday. So that's good. We need to get back in business. The state does, and not just back in business, but we need to get back to our lives and start living lives like we should. So that's all I got. So I think I don't need a motion to adjourn. I think we'll just adjourn at the call of the chair. No, I need a motion to adjourn. So if I could get a motion to
No, you
adjourn,
do not.
please. I do not. So I can
You
call.
do not, you do not. No.
No. Okay.
It's adjourn at the call of the chair.
That's exactly where I was going with that. And I saw your head shaking, so I couldn't. All right. And before I close, I do apologize my commissioners again for the technical difficulties that I had this evening. That will not happen tonight. So thank you very much. And I could adjourn the meeting at 5:05. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you in a bit.
Thank you.
Yep.